It's really exciting when new mosaic tools are released into the marketplace, especially if it makes nipping easier and especially if it's easier on your hands while you're nipping that tessera. Well, in this video, I'm going to be showing you 4 mosaic tools that have been released by SeaBell Mosaic Tools. Now, I've had these tools for some time and I've really enjoyed using them, so I'm really looking forward to showing them to you. Now, just for disclosure, these tools were supplied by Axess Glass and they haven't had any input into this video, and nor does it influence my review in any way. So anyway, let's have a look at the overview of the tools and then we'll get into the video. These are the SeaBell double-wheeled glass nipper. Now, these have been on the market for a little while, but this is the improved version. Now, what makes these so different? Well, it's these 2 rubber green rings here. In my opinion, they are a complete game changer. Because when I'm using these and I'm cutting glass, the actual rubber rings grab hold of the shard, and then when I release the handle, the shard drops down into a little pile underneath where I'm cutting. So I don't have this issue of the shards flying across the room because these rubber rings actually catch the majority of the shards, which could be seen also as a great safety feature. Now, up on screen now is me cutting the roses for my gazing ball. Now, the nippers I'm using in this particular video are actually the pre-release tool. The only difference being is that the colour of the handles have changed. The nippers themselves are identical. And as you can see, those shards being caught in the jaws of the nipper, and then they're dropping down into a little pile once I release them from the jaws of the nipper. So as you can see, it's an absolute game changer, and I really do love using these nippers. Now, this glass nipper is very lightweight. It only weighs 260 grams. Now, these numbered wheels are replaceable and they are made from titanium tungsten carbide. Now, this glass nipper also has a lever here, a 3-position lever, and at the moment it's set for 0. And that means that these wheels here do not have a lot of room between them. So if we close that and we put it to number 1, these wheels open up a little bit more. Now, if we put it to number 2, they open up quite wide. Now, when I'm using them for stained glass, I usually just keep it on number 1. And the advantage to this is that you don't have to have the handles open up really wide unless you really need them to be. Now, when I'm not using them, you can leave them or you can close them and put them onto 0. Now, they are very, very comfortable to use, but they are only for glass. Although they will cut other materials, they are designed specifically for glass, and only glass up to 8mm, so keep that in mind. Now, they are suitable for left or right-handed people. I'm left-handed, and I find, as I said, these are very comfortable to use. Now, what I've got here is I've got some stained glass, and I'm just going to now, I'll put this to number 1, and I'm just going to cut a circle out. Just, as you can see, they hold the shards until you release the handles, and then the shard drops away. So just roughly cut out a circle. And I love how the shards do not fly across the room. As I say, those little rubber rings are an absolute game changer. And of course you can spend a lot more time on getting this circle right if you want, but that gives you an idea. I'm mainly demonstrating it to show you the shards. And of course, vitreous tiles. Look at that, holds it, and then when you don't want it, you just let it go. And the same with this one here. Normally when I'm cutting this, I would have to cup it to actually stop the shard from shooting across the room. Look at that, perfect. So these are the SeaBell glass double-wheeled nippers. In my opinion, they're a great nipper, and with those rubber rings, they are a complete game changer. These are the SeaBell ceramic scissors, and they've been on the market for a little while, but they've now been upgraded with a new feature, and that is this locking device. And when this locking device is in the locked position, the jaws cannot open, and that also makes it easier to store them. Now these weigh 330 grams, and you can create angled or curved cuts with them in predominantly ceramic, stone or porcelain up to 8 millimeters thick. Now they will also cut stained glass, but be aware that with some stained glass you may get it splintering or crushing because stained glass is manufactured very differently. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to be working a lot in stained glass, then you're better off purchasing the SeaBell double-wheeled glass nippers. Now these are very comfortable to use, and what I thought I would do is I would cut up a plate and some other items and see how they work, just to give you a bit of a demonstration. Now before I get into cutting the plates, I just want to show you the jaws on these scissors. Now I'll put them close together so you can get a better look at them. Now they're curved, each side is curved. Now when we're putting a plate into this, we want to put the plate halfway. And the reason being is that this is the closest area where these nippers come in contact without actually touching each other. If we put the plate at the back here, then it's going to require a lot more effort on our part to actually break the plate. So putting them in halfway is going to give you the best position for less force on your hands to actually break the plate. So I just thought I'd point that out because I consider that to be important. So I've got a couple of different plates here. They're broken plates. I'm going to cut this one first, and this is an antique plate. So I'm going to put the actual plate halfway into the jaws. You can wear gloves when you do this. It's probably advisable if you haven't had experience with the plates because they can be quite sharp once you break them. So I'm going to put it in halfway and just break it. And that broke beautifully. This is an antique plate, so it's going to be fairly easy to break it, but that gives you an idea on how to do it. Now, the nippers do curve, so some people will probably prefer to use them this way, and other people would prefer to use them this way. When I'm using these, I like to have this area towards me because I can see exactly what area to nip. Whereas this way, because the blades angle, I can't see exactly where the cut is going to be, where I need to place the blades. So I find using it this way suits me a lot better, but it is personal preference. So if I'm cutting this out, it's pretty easy. There you go. And of course you can keep cutting these if you want to. But I find these really a gem to use. As you can see here, this plate here was all raggedy cutting across there, but that's the nature of the plate. It has crazing in it. This plate is not as old, far from it. So I expect this to cut better. But again, how well the nippers work is dependent on the plates. A lot has to do with the plates or whatever you're cutting, like tiles. Some plates will cut better, some tiles will cut better, some tiles won't cut as well, and neither will plates. So it really is dependent on the plate itself. There you go. But see how easy I can see by looking on this side? Because that's where it's going to cut. But they are really quite good to use. So anyway, you can spend more time, but that's just giving you a bit of a demonstration. Now, we'll also cut some glass here. This is just stained glass, and I'm going to... Now, when you're cutting this, it cuts it, but you're also getting lots of little shards as well, because it's not totally a clean cut, because it depends on the glass you're cutting, as I said earlier. But it does do a really nice job when it comes to shaping. Now, if I'm working a lot with stained glass, then I would certainly want to purchase the SeaBell double-wheeled glass nippers, because they have been designed for glass. But as you can see, these work pretty good for glass. Here's some iridized glass. Now, sometimes iridized can be a little hit and miss, but these are doing a beautiful job. Again, you're getting little shards and some big shards, because your little ones there you go. Now we'll just cut some stained glass, put it in halfway, and see, cuts it beautifully. Again, if you're going to be cutting a bit of this, then you would really, in a straight line, you'd really want to score and break it. But they are really very good to use. And to be honest, I don't know, I can't put my finger on it why I enjoy using them. I just do. Maybe it's because I can nip it, because it just works differently to other tools. But they are really quite a good tool to use. Make sure you have your bucket close by so you can cut into. But they do a really nice job. Let's have a look at the ceramic tiles. These are the Johnson tiles, and those people in Australia would be well aware of how difficult these can be cutting and shaping. For people overseas, these are quite hard tile, not as hard as porcelain, but they're still quite difficult to cut with some nippers. So put it halfway in, hold it, cuts it well. Not a huge amount of force needed. Now let's shape one of these and see how they go. When you've got little bits, jagged bits like that, just put it on the edge there and just cut it off. I really enjoyed using the SeaBell ceramic scissors. I was really surprised at how well they cut and shape tiles, crockery, and also glass. I think they're a really good tool to use, and I enjoyed using them. These are the SeaBell Max Pro compound nippers. Now they're quite lightweight at 285 grams, and I would have to say these are the lightest compound nippers that I've ever come across. Now they also come with switchable tungsten carbide blades, which are these straight ones here, but they also come with a curved set as well. And these blades are replaceable. Now the curved blades are great for nipping and shaping glass, while the straight blades are great for cutting ceramic, porcelain and stone up to a maximum thickness of 12 millimeters. Now these compound nippers also come with this beautiful pouch and also this Allen key as well. Now they're suitable for left or right-handed people. I'm going to just demonstrate a few of the materials that it cuts, and I'm also going to show you a couple of other features such as this knob here and this knob here. One of the big advantages when you're using these compound nippers on harder materials is the design. This design actually magnifies the force, so it makes it easier when you're nipping those harder materials, and it's also a lot easier on your hands. When you receive your Max Pro compound nippers, the handles should open and close quite freely. Now these are manually adjusted in the factory, and you might find, depending on who's adjusting them, that they might tighten them a bit more than others. Now, for instance, I have already tightened these just to demonstrate what I mean. And if we close these, see how they don't open up freely? I can open them up by just opening them with the handle, but they don't freely open. So all we need to do is we just need to adjust these two Allen key sockets, and it's very, very easy to do. If we turn it on its side there, and you will need two Allen keys, and your husband may have one of these, an extra one, or they are very cheap to purchase. Now, in most cases, this doesn't need to happen, but just on the odd case, I just thought I'd give you this little tip. So all we do is we put one Allen key in there, and we put the other Allen key in there. And all we do is turn them in opposite directions. We can hold that Allen key and just turn that one, just to loosen it, just a bit of a turn. And the same with the other one here. We put an Allen key on that side, an Allen key there, and we just loosen it off. So we're basically turning it like that in opposite directions. Now what happens when we open and close those? See how free that is? So I just thought I'd give you that little tip. Most times you won't need to do this because the nippers will come ready adjusted, but occasionally, you know, whoever's on the factory floor may just give them a bit more of a tighten, and that just means that they won't open as freely. Once it's done, you don't have to worry about it again. Now, before I get into showing you a few of the materials that I'm going to be cutting with these Max Pro compound nippers, I just want to point out a couple of features, and that's this knob here, and that's this knob here. Now, this knob, when you undo it, will allow the jaws and the handles to open. And of course, when you want to keep them locked in place, you just close them and then turn that knob. But this knob here is a complete game changer. Now on the back here is a button, and it works in conjunction with this knob here. Now if we get our thumb, and you can use your finger if you want to, and we push that knob in, or that button in, this knob pops out a bit. So we just get it and turn it, and it'll click into place. Now what this does is, when you open these back up, the jaws open up wider. And if you don't want them to open up wider, you can just close them, turn that knob, push that button in, turn that back around, clicks into place, and then when you open them up again, they don't open up as wide. Now this is really, really handy for those people that may have small hands, because with ordinary compound nippers, or the ones that I've used and seen, they're either open or they're closed. And of course they open up usually quite wide, which makes it difficult for some people with small hands to actually use them. So now you have two positions for these jaws to open up. So I consider that to be a real game changer. Okay, let's have a look at some of the materials I'm going to be cutting with the Max Pro compound nippers. So let's start off with some stone. Now this doesn't look a very good quality stone, but we'll put it in there and see what happens. Cuts beautifully actually. Very little effort. Now let's have a look at this glass. This is quite a thick piece of square glass. So we'll put it in the jaws. Beautiful. Of course we can nip it from the side as well. And we'll try this big chunk of glass. Cuts it beautifully. Put it from the side. Yep. Now we'll try chinker. Chinker's pretty hard. Oh, magic. Absolutely magic. Yep, beautiful. Now we'll have a look at some Johnson tile, shall we? Because Johnson tiles are quite hard. And I'm going to take off that end there, so we'll see how that goes. Yeah, it's pretty good. Now I will take this bit off here. There you go. Does that well. Now we'll have a look at some glass. This is just 3mm stained glass. Cuts it beautifully. Really, really nice. And we'll have a look at this piece as well, because as we know, glass, not all glass is the same. Yep, cuts that pretty good. There are some little shards though at the bottom here, we'll try this one here. See how you get these little shards on the coming from the tile. Now, if you were using the SeaBell double-wheeled glass nippers, then you wouldn't get that because they've been specifically designed for glass. But it still cuts really quite well. It's just you've got to expect in some cases to get little shards. Well, I've cleaned up the work area a little bit from all the shards, and now I'm going to cut this plate. And this plate's a beautiful plate, but it can be difficult to cut. So I want to try it with the Max Pro compound nippers and see how they perform with this plate. So I'm going to put it on the side there, and I'm wanting to cut out one of these designs here. I don't expect the plate to break across here in a nice way because I do have the foot to go through. And from my experience, when I've cut these plates up, they don't break all that well, and they don't generally break how you want them to. So I expect it to kind of shard off here. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Turn those around. Yeah, that's what I thought, but that's okay. I really just want to see if I can cut out a design. Just put that across here, and we'll see how we go. They actually work really quite well. Because as you know, when you're cutting crockery, sometimes the magic works and sometimes it doesn't. But this is handling it really quite well. Shape that a bit more. And just in there as well. There you go. I think it's done a pretty good job. Now what I'm going to do is actually change these blades over for the curved blades because I would like to cut some of these items with the curved blades and see if it makes a bigger difference. So I'll change these over now and we'll be back. Right, I've changed the blades over and they're now the curved blades. So I'm going to cut some glass, and I'm also going to cut some of the Johnson tile and see how it goes, because I'm going to actually shape that into a circle. So first will be the glass. So we'll see how this goes. And it does cut beautifully. There you go. And of course you can spend more time on it if you like. Now I'm going to also use the blue glass because this actually, when we were cutting it with the straight blades, it had a few shards coming from it. So let's just see how this actually now cuts. And to be honest, looking at this, I have to say that it actually is a cleaner cut. It's not to say you can't use the straight blades, but certainly I think for glass, the curved blades do a really good job. And of course you can nip that much finer if you want to get some of those points off. Now let's have a look at the Johnson tiles. So I'm going to now cut this into a circle as well. Just to give us a bit of an idea and see how it goes. I must say, these are really good. I really do like using these compound nippers. I think they're a bit of a game changer, to be honest, compared to the ordinary compound nippers out in the marketplace. Well, there you go. I'm really happy with how these curved blades worked with the stained glass and also the Johnson tiles. I think they're great for shaping, and of course the straight blades are really great for cutting ceramic, porcelain and stone. So you have the best of both worlds. These are the SeaBell ceramic tile cutter, and these have been specifically designed for cutting ceramic, stone, porcelain and glass tile up to 8mm thick. They weigh 352 grams, and they also come with this locking switch which keeps the jaws closed. Now the tungsten blades on them are replaceable, and they're a very comfortable ceramic tile cutter. And I'm going to demonstrate some of the materials that you can cut with this tile cutter. Now the first thing I'll do is I'll unlock the switch and we'll cut some of this glass tile here. So I'm just going to put it on the edge there and cut it. And it cuts well. Now I'm also going to put it right into its jaws and just see if it cuts that, which it does. Now this is a textured piece of glass and I'm just going to put it in the side of the jaws. Cut that, yep, and also just put it in there as well. Now I'm also going to cut some chinker, so put it in the side there, and it cut that beautifully. Beautiful. I'll also cut some of this Johnson tile, and we'll see how this performs, because we know this is quite a hard tile. So in the side there. Oh, yep, cuts that well too. Yep, not a problem. A bit of stone here. Yep, admittingly it's not a hard stone, but it's still a stone. And we'll see how it goes with this plate. This is a beautiful plate and it's porcelain. How this breaks, we'll see. There you go, straight across. Of course, like I've said in other videos, it is dependent on the type of plate that you're cutting. That has, and it's like glass as well, it has a lot to do with how it cuts, is by the quality of the plate, how it's manufactured as well. There you go, so if we're going for this particular area here, whoop, that wasn't very good. Sometimes the magic works and sometimes it doesn't. Nice to use. Very comfortable actually, I must say. But of course you can nibble away at things, you know, like here if I want to cut that bit off there, just put it in there. There you go. Now I've got some thin porcelain tile, so I'll put that in between the jaws. And look, beautiful. Look how well it cuts. I'll just do it again. Magic. Now I've got some thicker porcelain tile here, and this can be quite difficult to cut, so we'll see how we go with that. Magic. Yep, very beautiful. So these are really great to use. I find them comfortable and they certainly make short work of the materials that I've just cut. I really loved using the SeaBell tools, and it was an absolute pleasure showing you the tools as well. Now, if you're looking for a list of distributors, I'll put a list at the end of this video and also in the description box of this video as well. If you're looking at buying one of the tools from the range, put a comment down in the bottom of the comment section of the YouTube channel. Let me know which one you're looking at purchasing. And if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you enjoyed it, share it, and I'll see you in the next one. Enjoy.